Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting. Please stand for the pledge.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands.
I'd like to have a moment of silence for the following individuals. Constance Rinaldi, a retiree of the North Syracuse Central School District. Catherine Fanning, a former employee of the North Syracuse Central School District. Linda Martin, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Joan Kumaletti, a retiree of the North Syracuse Central School District. Mary Sauchin, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. And Robert McNamara, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Thank you. Our first presentation tonight is the cast and crew of Harvey. So, Ms. Rausa, Mr. Nadler, the floor is yours. If you would just use the mic, please.
We've taken, there we go. We decided to take a walk in there and during one of our last dress rehearsals and come over and see all of you. And we wanted you to meet our cast and crew. If you don't know, this is Mr. Nadler. I'm sure everybody knows him. I'm Mrs. Rausa. We have the absolute privilege of directing this show. It will premiere on Friday evening, at 7 o'clock, Saturday at 2 o'clock, and Saturday evening at 7. Harvey has never been done in this district. And I think maybe the last time in Central New York it was done was 1966, Mr. Crabtree. Yeah, it's been a while. It's a wonderful show. It's got a wonderful message, and it's you're gonna love it.
What she said.
So we're gonna have some of our cast members come up and leave something in front of you, if that's okay. Wonderful. Thank you for having us this evening.
Okay, next I'd like to invite Daryl Redmond up for some student recognition in our musical program.
Good evening. I'm proud to announce that several of our student musicians have earned prestigious recognition through the New York State School of Music Association, better known as NSMA. This recognition is not only a testament to the students' hard work and talent, but also a reflection of the outstanding support they've received from their educators and families throughout their musical journey. From the earliest lessons to the current teachers and ensemble directors, every educator has played a critical role in helping the students achieve this success. Equally important is the encouragement and dedication of their parents and guardians, whose support has been essential in fostering their growth and accomplishments. I commend our students, their teachers, and families for this achievement and thank everyone who supports our district's thriving music program. There are two groups of students that are going to be recognized this evening. The first group are students who have or will be participating in the Area All-State. The NSMA Zone 3 Area All-State Festivals showcase exceptional junior high and high school student musicians from Cayuga, Onondaga, Cortland, Tompkins, Tioga, and Broome counties. Students are selected based on their NSMA solo evaluation scores and teacher recommendations. These ensembles perform advanced literature under the direction of distinguished conductors. The Junior High Festival took place on November 1st and 2nd at Homer High School, and the Senior High Festival is scheduled for January 31st and 1st at Ithaca College. The students who participated in the Junior High Area All-State are Joseph Canella, Caitlin Crisley, Mira Cook, Mark Morris. If you can come forward, please. We have certificates for you. So Caitlin and Mira, I believe you're both here. Oh, and who did I forget? All right. All right. Yeah, so they're in alphabetical and junior high, yes. Wait, no, it's this group.
Okay.
There is a second group of students that are in the Area All-State, and these are the senior high students. Their names are Abigail Gable, Emma Hearn, Andrea Iqbal, Brooke Mahaffey, and Christian Reichard. So if you are, and Elias Van Driersen, Jameson Walker, and Emma Wall. So if you're here, please come forward. No, it's Christian.
Oh, we got Christian Andrew.
And I'm going to ask Christian and Andrea to stay up here for a moment. So Christian and Andrea are staying up here because not only are they members of the Area All-State groups, they've been selected as members of Conference All-State. The NSMA Conference All-State Festival is held at the NSMA Winter Conference and represents the highest level of musical achievement in New York State. Students selected for this honor are chosen from a highly competitive pool of applicants statewide. They will join elite ensembles to perform challenging repertoire in a professional setting, showcasing their dedication and advanced skill. Conference All-State will be held in Rochester on December 5th through 8th, and the final concerts will be held in Kodak Hall at Eastman Theater. So for students that are here, whether it's Area All-State or Conference All-State, please go out into the hallway so we can do a photo together. Thank you. And thank you very much, Board of Education.
Okay, we have our final two BPT presentations this evening. So I'd like to invite up Naomi and for the junior high school.
All right, thank you for having us. Let me just start by saying it's totally unfair to go after amazing children. But thank you nonetheless, and congratulations to everyone that was just recognized. So we have the honor. I'm Naomi Trivison. I'm the principal of North Syracuse Junior High School, and I have with me members of my administrative team and our BPT team, which is repetitive, I know. Nicole Brown, Kelly Fisher, Melissa Potratz, and Chuck Yanko. There we go. All right. So here's a quick view of our building demographics, the shift between 2023-24, looking at our current school year. And you can see reflected in the numbers to the right of those, how things have shifted, either growth or decline. Our enrollment is just a little bit down, but overall, things looking pretty similar to the way that they have in the past. And please stop me if you have any questions along the way. All of the work that we do is tied back to our district's vision and mission. And so I know that we know those. I won't read them to you, but I want to allow my team to highlight the pieces of that. So I'm going to pass it on to them.
I'm going to discuss the collaborative team meetings. Over the past 2 years, we have worked on creating collaborative teams within our departments. In these teams, we are looking at student data. We're developing common assessments and benchmarks. We're analyzing the test scores and the benchmarks and how everyone is doing and what needs to be changed. We're looking at work with eDoctrina. We have had our admin team coming in and sitting on our different PTMs. And we have had Barb Phillips come and meet with our BPT last year. I don't know if she'll be coming back this year. I think she will be, but also working with us on keeping things going through the year with our collaborative team meetings.
Should have had the crew that does tech tell us how to line up, so I don't have to pass it back and forth so much. So next graduation rate, we have the goal that 80% of students are going to leave set up for success and leaving the junior high with 6.5 high school credits as they go on to the high school. We're at kind of that unique position where we have 8th grade, but we also have 9th grade as well in those credit bearing times. So we really have to kind of look at how do we prep them and how are we moving them forward within that goal. Our slides are a little different. This is. Yep.
I don't know if I need the microphone on this. Okay, and here, okay, thank you. No problem. So what you have up here is the reading proficiency data, both historical for the last 2 years and our projected or desired goal for both the Ames Web ELA proficiency and the New York State ELA state test. As you can see, we're on a gradual increase over spring 23-24 on the Ames Web proficiency for English. And then you'll see that gradual increase in the New York State ELA proficiency over the last 3 years and our obvious desired goal. Just a reminder, as if you don't know, proficiency for the ELA state test is levels 3 and 4, a combination of that. And Ames Web, it's also similar, but not quite as exact in terms of how that is measured. Okay, and then you also have the math proficiency data. Again, it's a reflection of ELA, historical Ames Web math data over the last 2 years with our projected or desired goal for this upcoming year. And then on the New York State math assessment, which will also be coming this spring, again, with some historical data for that information. Okay, so obviously the goal that we have, as you saw in the prior charts, is to raise the number of students scoring in the proficient and advanced levels by 6%. As we looked at it as a BPT, we thought this was a reasonable goal that continued the trend that we've seen over the last couple of historical years. Strategies that we're encouraging amongst our instructional staff is the use of I can statements. As mentioned earlier, CTMs focused on essential standards, math workshops, reading interventions. We also are offering math help offered every block on our BD days, and then some implementation of some new curriculum in ELA, the EL education, and then also in the 8th grade math curriculum with the use of Amplify. And as mentioned earlier, we're using the Ames Web Plus to pull this data, and then the ELA and math state assessments along with our Regents exams, which take place at the end of the year.
I apologize. I don't know what happened. The slides are in a different order, but we're going to get through that. All right. So here is just a quick snapshot of our 2023-24 Regents data. So the courses that our students can test in are Algebra 1, Geometry, Earth Science, Physics, and Living Environment. We know that Living Environment is being transitioned out with the new exams, as is Earth Science. So those are both going to be different as we head into the coming June assessment period. So of the students tested, you can see that we're performing pretty well where we want to be. Students who are participating in these courses are passing, and the pass rate is significantly trade. What came back? Maybe it likes because this one's on. I don't know. All right. And so we are anticipating the same type of scores, if not higher, as we head into this school year. We are also anticipating the changes in the exams and supporting students with that through curriculum and AIS and things like that we've already discussed.
Okay, for the emotional competencies, we give the BIMAS self-assessment, and students take it twice per year. We do in the fall and then we do it again in the spring. And similar to how we like to look at reading and math data, we really want to look at those social emotional pieces as well and see where our students are, where their thoughts are, and what strategies we can use to support them. So we have that goal to increase our strength by 5%. When we do this, it's kind of live data given right to the guidance counselors, social workers, school psychologists. So if we see that students are scoring in that negative affect or for one of our critical pieces that we look at, we get them resources right away. Within a very short time period, they are one-to-one with guidance counselors, social workers, school psychologists, like I said, a lot. We find from there and are able to refer them to Access or Promise Zone or to other staff members that they can start to kind of work with. So we're starting to really look at the whole child, not just what they're doing academically, but where we can help them social emotionally as well.
Uh, Excuse me. We have a lot of celebrations throughout the whole year. Like- Blinking right now. Oh my God. Various clubs that reach different interests.
Some of the things that we have done that I think has been great in our building, we started with therapy dog visits like every once in a while. Now we have, 3 or 4 different dogs that come in. The kids love it. They come during lunch, or we have some that come during the last block of the day and you can sign up for them to come. It's been a really positive experience. We have, our esports club has really done a ton. They're in that room with Mr. Gross constantly. 4D Productions does wonderful things in our building. We have our Common Grounds Coffee Club, which is our 15-to-1 self-contained students that on Mondays, they have like a coffee cart. You put in your orders ahead of time and they come down the hall and they deliver your orders. That's also great because it gets them integrated and having a job and meeting other people within the building, whether it be students or staff. We have done a lot with restorative practices in our building. We have a committee that meets 1 to 2 times a month after school. We've really spent a lot of time restructuring our in-school suspension to be more of a restorative instead of punitive. So we've done a lot with that. Our deans this year did a lot with making phone calls ahead of time to students that may have had chronic absenteeism, making those personal connections. We do a lot of positive postcards that we send out to our students to have that sense of community. So I think we have done a lot and there's a lot to celebrate at the junior high.
Many of you may know, my introduction to the junior high school was Chuck's fantastic rollout of the hot dog roast. And I had no idea what this really was. So I am continually impressed with the staff and the students and the families that are part of this community. And the junior high school is a unique space that deserves more celebrating than I think it's gotten in its history. There are just so many wonderful things happening. To Nicole's point, we've also shifted how we operate our open house. We had a new format last year that we've tweaked a little bit more this year. We're trying to be mindful of families' time and the split between buildings if they're, have students in multiple spaces. And also thinking about, like how do we restructure time within the school day so that teachers and students have more time in academics and, less time in like those things that we don't always find as valuable. And so finding that there are amazing ideas in the building, and I'm just constantly reassured that this is the space that I was meant to be. So I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to have this chance to be with everyone and work this hard every single day. The other awesome thing that I've been able to be a part of is the news in the morning. And I come from a space where it has a name. And so we're working on branding that a little bit and bringing that to the forefront because the kids work really hard on that. There's just so many good things going on. So if you ever want to just pop in and see what the junior high is all about, I invite you to please do so. Did anyone else have? Okay. And then these are the members of our BPT. It crosses each department and various groups within the building. And so just a quick thanks to every single person on that list, including Nick, if he's still back there. Thank you. And if you all have any questions, we'll field those now.
Josh, you go first.
Yeah, I just saw that there was a chronic absenteeism slide that was There was kind of like, that must have been where it was out of order. And I just was hoping that and I know that, one of you touched on it briefly, and it sounds like you're doing a lot of good stuff, but I just wanted to hear a little bit more on what's going on there.
Yes, so for chronic absenteeism, Nicole touched on it a little bit. Our deans worked over the summer calling every family that we had that were on our chronic absenteeism list last year. And we did private tours, we did walkthroughs, we did meeting counselors early, meeting admin early, and that was a really big shift. We have some faces that we weren't sure we'd see again, and that was pretty incredible. We'd like to get our rate at 16% or lower. Some things we're also doing is we send the letters home and we do 5, 10, 15, 18. And again, kind of a live document. The joy of technology is as we know these kids are hitting these numbers, our guidance counselors are calling, they're engaging them, we're referring to access, we're using all the other resources that we have versus just sending a letter hoping in the mail and hoping they call us. We're being a little bit more proactive and going out and reaching our families. Doing more with clubs like NSCSD Connect and having those restorative practices where we're trying to build more of a community where students and families know we want them there, not just they have to be there because that's the rule, but a lot of things that we're kind of putting in place to keep kids coming in our doors and feeling welcome and wanted there.
I just wanted clarification because I was trying to look at the graph and I missed something. You said the biomass graph. You'd mentioned something triggered more involvement by the counselor or social worker. Was it the high risk category?
Yes, so there's kind of two pieces we look at. There's a negative affect and it's color coded. So you have your green, your yellow, your red. Your students that are popping up after in that red, we immediately get to counselors that day. There's also a certain number that hits on self-harm. And if students are ranking there, it puts them at top priority on my list, which puts them top priority on the counselor's list. So they're getting immediate support
So that's for each category, not just the total score?
for each
Okay.
category. Yeah.
Yeah, they seem high in self-awareness and self-management, but these students, these were the eighth graders last year, so they're ninth grader. When do you
Correct.
run it again?
So this was spring of last year, and these students will take it again in 10th grade at the high school.
okay.
And then we'll do it again. We just did it with our eighth graders now, and we'll do it with our eighth graders in the spring.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one comment and two questions. Start off with the comment. I just want to say that it is not easy taking over a building in general, but to take over a building after somebody who's been there for 3 decades is even harder. And so I just want to commend you, Naomi, for doing that. And it seems that the junior high is on the correct path and you got a great team behind you. And thank you so much for doing what you're doing for our community. On the questions part, going off what Paul said, I'm just curious on, you said that you want to grow the green by 5%, specifically in responsible decision-making. What led you to choose responsible decision-making over the other two, who seems like there's a little more red and less green in those?
When we look at that responsible decision-making, it kind of supports all those other pieces because what typically leads us to our certain choices is impulsive behavior. So if we're really looking at being able to think about our decisions, weigh outcomes, use adult supports, they kind of filter all those other pieces. So if we can focus on one, we kind of wanted the one that might branch out to others versus just on self-awareness or just on the self.
Thank you. Thank you. That definitely.
We're
makes sense.
connecting that to Xavier with like building wide expectations, right? So we're working with kids whose frontal lobes are not developed. So it's totally natural that they're making some of the decisions they're making. So how do we set them up for success with really clear expectations and a constant referral back to that, right? Like this is what we're doing today. We have weekly focuses that I go over and then the adults in the building are able to support with students and we're seeing some wins there, right? In some spaces that perhaps we hadn't before. And so it's all connected in that foundational way.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarity on that. And my other one was, I noticed on the celebrations page, it says ISS restructured to be more restorative. And I've always thought that it was weird that we pull students out of classes who are being bad to put them in a classroom doing nothing for the rest of the day. This sounds very intriguing. I was wondering if you could speak on that a little bit.
So for one of those pieces, well, first we revamped what it looked like. It was just white walls and little bland. So we've been working on just when you enter, what does it feel like? But one of the main pieces that we worked on within the Restorative Practice Committee and over the summer is how do we make this a learning space? We're obviously here because we made a poor decision. So when students come in, it isn't just sit with your head down and maybe do work, maybe not. They actually work with the ISS monitors and have a reflective conversation. And we ask the kids to fill it out. But the form might be like, for example, what did you do that got you here? Looking at our expectations that we're setting in the building, which one of these did you break? Maybe what could you have done instead? Who was affected by this decision? Maybe we owe some apologies. Maybe we need to work on rebuilding a relationship. And it's not just like a one and done. As the other monitors come in, you kind of sit, you reflect. I've been keeping a lot of them to kind of document the conversations, and they're important too when you get a kid who's in there and you can bring back their words to them and say like, hey, we've kind of been here before. What do we need to try next time? Because again, frontal lobes. But we're working on, instead of it just being a punitive sit here, let's have some real conversations. So hopefully you don't come back here again.
Yeah, I mean, when I remember when I was subbing, I subbed, I had to cover ISS one time that I've never done before. And I was nervous, but I get in there and the kids just head down, like not talking to anybody. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, why he's just sitting there and they're supposed to be doing work. And so I carry around a restorative practice card in my wallet. And so I took it out. I was like, has everybody tried restorative practice with you and like, or talked about what's going on? He's like, no. So we sat there for the whole ISS talk, going through restorative practice, kind of just this little session. And then he came up to me the following week when I was just in another classroom and he was like, my situation was resolved. I took like your advice and I really took it to heart. And it was just one of my best moments that I've had. But restorative practice is work. And I think using it in ISS is one of the best applications we could use. So I'm so excited that we're doing something like that.
The goal is to not see that behavior again, right? So Chuck and Melissa hear this probably more, and the deans hear this more often than anyone else. What's the teach piece going to be, right? Like we have this consequence, but how are we getting the kid back in the classroom? How are we going to try to prevent that, whatever it was, the unexpected behavior from happening again? And then sometimes it's that like rebuilding, like Melissa said, the relationship between the student and the teacher, and even the students and the rest of the class. So we've done whole classroom circles following incidents that impact the whole the whole classroom. And teachers, may have at the beginning pushed back a little bit on the, like, I have to sit one-on-one with this kid. But when you go through those 4 questions, it's really just like, what happened? How do we, who do you think it impacted? What can we do different? And just getting them thinking through that, like slowing them down a little bit. We've seen some success with that.
I think one of the things with the ISS being more restorative is we have these kids who you didn't think at first, some of the kids need to bring it down. So we'll give them their space, but then they'll actually come up to one of the monitors, say, okay, I'm ready to have that restorative conversation, where that wasn't something that was part of it before. And they are becoming more reflective, which has been really nice to see out of, especially the age group that we're with. So we also have put other activities in there. Obviously they can do work, but we also have some activities for them to do, even like coloring pages, just those kids that just need to kind of regulate themselves and get to that point where they can have those conversations. So it has really been a lot of work put in, but it's been really great work.
One quick comment. Thanks everyone for coming out and presenting. Nice job. I want to give a shout out on your therapy pets. I have my dog's a certified therapy dog, and I bring my dog to work with me with the kids, and it's like magical. Some of the things that happen and the connections, and to see that side, especially at that age group, they're not easy, but to see that side of them, it great for mental health. I think I have just as much staff that come and visit the dog as do the kids. So way to go.
And this could go to Dr. Leahy. I was at open house in BOCES and I got the by-mass questions or statements. So my question to the junior high is, do they do it on the computer or does the teacher, they do it on the computer? I'm sure that's the way it's done at the high school. whereas elementary. I think it would be nice if the board, because Paul asked about certain areas were higher than others, to see what questions go with that area. So Chris, if you could give the board maybe a sample of this. Mine's not a really good copy because I think we might disagree a little bit where some of the topics go. Solution tree, can you tell me real quickly what that is? It's a big term in BOCES. Principals are getting trained. Tell me real quickly what solution tree is.
Solution Tree is like the network that has spearheaded all the PLC work. So they move around the country, but names like Mike Matos and Anthony Mohammed and those type of folks are the people kind of working with the folks that come out to district and work with us on like what should your guiding coalition be built on and what are your building goals and how do we teach CTMs, which are the teacher groups in a specific content area, to build assessments that give us a better idea about whether learning has happened or not. And it's rooted in DeFore's work also, like the 4 questions are, what are kids learning? Are they learning it? What are we doing when they don't? That kind of thing. So Solution Tree is just the network that organizes all of that.
Know me and test scores, Nick, so I am very pleased with the math scores. Those are probably the highest scores in 30 years at the junior high. I was a teacher in the district, and I remember when it was under 10%. However, we do allow our students taking the math. They also take the Regents now, and that was Dan Bowles. He had said to the board that we need to have those students take the exam because they're good students and they weren't taking it. ELA is one of the most difficult areas, but I'm sure our director of literacy will have a lot to do with that with your teachers. And I also tell to the board, why is physics so high? Well, those are the top students at the junior high, because we can look at the high school and physics is not 90%. And living environment is a different type of child that's in there. So I don't compare those scores because I know the type of children are in there. So when is your honor breakfast? Because Michael has to give the speech. I don't know if he knows that. So when is the honor breakfast?
So that was one of the things that we heard from families. We offered that. It was basically like 6 different iterations through the school year. And by the 3rd one, which is really the biggest one, right? Because now we're celebrating kids who have gotten this all 3 of the previous marking periods. They didn't come. And so we wanted to be cognizant of what they were telling us, also be aware of like the amount of money that we were spending on each one and making sure that we're being a little bit more fiscally responsible. And so rather than celebrating at each marking period, we're going to celebrate any student who's earned honor roll between marking period 1 and marking period 3. And then we're also doing little recognitions for them at the end of each marking period within the building that families don't have to come to, but like a student of the month will have something to take home in recognition of their hard work. Yeah, you're welcome.
Very much.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
Paul had it for many years.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Superintendent did too.
All right, last but not least, Kristen.
Okay.
Me, oh, yeah.
Oh, no. So I have with me tonight, obviously, the admin team is sitting behind me, supporting us, and they helped. But I have Dave Babican, our NSCA chair in the building, and Greg Broughton, our BPT rep. So they will help me present tonight. We will start with our building demographics. Just a couple of things to note. We are down only about 20 students this year, but we are up in a couple of areas that aren't on here. Last year, we had 31 Ls, English language learners, and this year we have 45, so that is an increase. Last year, we had 161 students with IEPs in the building, and this year we are up to 184. So a couple of things to note. I'd also like to know, in addition to our special education programs we have in the building, we also send many students to our BOCES CTE programs, as Mr. Crabtree saw today, I believe. They were lined up waiting for the buses. We have 174 students that are attending our BOCES CTE programs. Those are juniors and seniors.
Good evening, everybody. On the slide, we have our mission, our vision, again, dialed into the district strategic plan. Going down through, again, our mission is what we're going to do. Our vision is really, how are we guiding ourselves? How are we going to get there? The things that really stand out to us in the vision, again, are being focused on those individual connections with students. We have a large building, and all of our teachers work hard to build that bond with the students within their classrooms. Again, trying to make this large building of 3 grades just a little bit smaller for each of those kids. Also, we are now in our 2nd year of our PLCs, working with our CTMs, our collaborative teams. This past summer, we spent time with our guiding coalition, which is the group that guides the building, and trying to set up those collaborative team meetings within the areas. They met 3 different times in the summertime in order to come up with a plan to revisit what we had last year, to look at what are we doing going forward. We also have along with the junior high, have a meeting set up with Barb Phillips. We've had to reschedule it at least once, going down through the time. Our CTMs are set up within our departments, again, by discipline a lot of the times, but in our smaller departments, they are, again, just set up as the department, because you have a lot of teachers that teach singletons, in some of those smaller areas. And those groupings are in different places. Honestly, we have some of our social studies groups that have been doing CTM work for years on their own within their disciplines. And we have other areas that are just branching into it and just getting into it. So we do have some groups that are using their common assessment data to guide their teaching and guide their planning. And we have other groups that I can speak to in science where we actually are in a massive shift in the science standards across the state. We too are picking up and starting to teach life science biology instead of living environment, and earth and space science in lieu of earth science. So those teachers are just, knee deep in getting in, just completely changing their curriculum. Just to give you an idea, the shifts that have happened with New York State and the sciences, it's taken us away from being the purveyor of knowledge, where we just sort of tell everybody what you have to know, to more of a coach. So it really fits what I can do. Because again, you're trying to guide the students. You start with really a phenomenon, and then you show that looping and how science is involved with it. And even our chemistry and physics teachers, they're starting to dive into so the state just released their pieces. Their standards going through, and they're diving into it. And one of my chem teachers came to me and said, wait a minute, I'm teaching biology and I'm teaching earth science and chemistry. And I said, yeah, like that's what the state is doing now. Like this, it's again, part of the national standards of science where everything loops, and it shows the interconnectedness of science. Gone are the days of trying to create little chemists that will come out of high school. We're trying to basically make new knowledgeable community members that understand a little bit of every science and how those different science areas correlate with one another.
As always, increasing graduation rates is one of the biggest things that we do at the high school, because that's where it all ends. So this year, we're focusing a lot on chronic absenteeism. Our new associate principal, Mr. Villeneuve, has been leading the charge with a lot of that, really getting in, calling students down that are having absentee problems. We've done other things. I know Mrs. Pukta has also come up with an idea to call kids for positive things instead of just negative ones. So the administrative team's really working hard on that. And that brings us to our graduation rates. You can see some of our other strategies: welcoming and affirming environment, student involvement. We're trying to really increase club and extracurricular offerings. And we've seen that a lot. RE Sports, Dungeons and Dragons Club, Lots of different clubs that are around that are really drawing in students that maybe before were marginalized. Focusing on MTSS with students and SEL and restorative practices for student self-management. Oh, yeah, sorry. We're at 90.4%, which is higher than the state average and up from last year as well. State average is 87%. So we are definitely moving in the right direction and hopefully we'll continue to go up.
We have remained steady. Our graduation rate over the last 3 years has been at 90%. I think this year it was 90.4. So we're at least remaining steady and above the state average. One other goal is to increase our reading proficiency. If you look at this data, this is the first year that CNS has implemented the Ames web testing that has been used at the middle schools and the junior high school. So this fall, all of our students, grades 10 through 12, took the Ames web in their English classes, which is a reading test. So this is the data. You probably typically see this as the little triangles. I just turned this into a bar graph to look at our tier 1. In the green, obviously it's pretty high. We are looking at increasing our tier 2 and 3, decreasing that, by 2%. So that's our goal for this year. We don't have anything to base it on except for this data. However, if you look at our English 11 Regents exam data, this is over the last 3 years, you will see there was a small decline in the overall passing rate. We are attributing this to the state getting rid of the special appeals. So last summer, August 2023, was the last of the special appeals that happened after COVID. So the students that took it this spring were not eligible for that appeal. So we saw a little decline, but we're hoping with the Ames web testing and some of our strategies, with our CTMs, we really are focusing on cross-curricular collaboration. Our librarians have been instrumental in this. They are in classrooms. Students are going down to the library more, at least that I've seen from last year. We're really working on vocabulary development, not only in our word of the week in the building, but different groups. I know math is really working on their vocabulary development in their classes. We've had some professional development on half days for our ELs, our English language learners, and we're focusing in on our workshop classes, which is different than AIS. Our workshop classes in ELA and math are really focused on the skill work to help with our reading and math skills.
Next up, we have our math proficiency, math goals. And again, here at CNS, we have the upper level math exams, both algebra and algebra 2 are our primary focus. And the students that are generally taking these exams are the ones trying to get their advanced designation diploma, trying to get those extra math exams in there. And as you can see in 23-24, we had a significant jump. We had a nice 7% increase in the geometry exam and an 8.5% increase in the algebra 2 exam. So we're bouncing back to pre-COVID levels. Going through, which is excellent. And also, we are sort of at the end of a transition period. We've switched from the older progression. Sophomores were taking geometry, and then they were looping back to algebra 2 trig as juniors. We flipped it back. So now they're taking algebra as freshmen, algebra 2 trig as sophomores, and then geometry. And we've finally gotten through that transitional period where we have blendings of the two. So I was just talking with Nick in the back there, and that's where we have our data. So our data moving forward now has those set groupings in those classes going forward. And as we go, we are definitely seeing that incremental jump in the performance of the students.
Increasing social emotional competency. Our goal is obviously to reduce those that are self-reporting as high risk by 2%. And a lot of the things that we're doing, you see the classes there, Adulting 101. I don't know if anybody saw the story, but it was a really good news story they just did on it. Independent living tools for change, team building, all of those. The Career Center is working on the college fair as well as the ASVAB and the trades fair. And the deans have really been working hard with SEL, with students and with teachers as well to try to bring that down. So more SEL, Xavier, going on there. I know they're doing it in ISS and elsewhere as well. the support staff, we have the counselors, the social workers, and everybody really focused on this goal to help students with SEL, because something we're trying to work heavy on after COVID, obviously. And it's paying off because you see our numbers have really went down from previous and just a few at high risk levels compared to before, where we had high risk levels. So I think that it's really starting to pay off. We're starting to see a change there. And I think, I think Paul asked about going from 8th to 9th grade, or somebody did. I can't remember. I think it was Paul. And you see, so this would be the 10th graders then, and they're down from what they were last year too. So what's going on down there and up here is obviously working.
I'd also like to note, we don't have this data up here, but this is our fall data for our 10th and 11th graders. When it reports out on our risk level. So this is the core competencies, but the risk level data, that would be for, especially looking at self-harm, the level 4 are highest risks, and the kids are self-reporting. We had no students report at a level 4. We did have some at 2 and 3, which is also a concern. And of those 2 and 3s, all of those students were already getting support. So we have them connected with people, whether it's in school or outside of school. That was definitely a win for us this year. And then my favorite part are celebrations. We have spent a lot of time celebrating this year, so I'm just gonna quickly go through some of these highlights. We started off our first day of school. This has become I think a norm now, is the senior sunrise. The class of 2025 senior sunrise. I know a lot of us in this room have seniors, but we started off the year celebrating our seniors. We got them donuts. It was really nice. It was a perfect sunrise. So that was a nice way to start the school year. Positivity Project is still going strong. Mrs. Bambino reports she has more kids than ever involved, and I know they have that at the junior high. Those advisors are getting kids involved, and it's paying off because they're coming up to the high school wanting to be involved. So this was them at the Dragon Boat Race. I believe it was the end of November. This was a benefit to support Clear Path for Veterans. So they're helping make a positive impact in school and outside of school, which we love. We had our first ever district-wide Spirit Week, which was great. We hope to do more of those. Our student government is going to be working with the other student governments in other buildings to try to plan those. Our Rising Stars. So this is a new way that we are recognizing our students who are doing great things. These are based on our STAR character traits: self-motivation, thoughtfulness, accountability, respect, and being supportive. We had 101 nominations from staff for November. So the admin team is working hard this week to get those out. Students get a certificate. They get a little pass to sit in the commons, the cafe commons, after they eat their lunch, which is a pretty coveted area. So they're able to sit out there with a friend for the month. And then we also send a letter home to parents and students so they know who nominated them, and then most importantly, why. What is the great thing that they've been doing? So that has been really fun. I know it's the highlight of our week when we're able to hand those out. I know that most of you know about the Micron Roundtable. So this is Alexis Williams, one of our technology teachers, and Lucas Levinowski. He's a sophomore, talking about the electromechanical classes. This was in collaboration with NSCA and AFT. We had a lot of people in the building. It was a great turnout, great experience for both our kids and our teachers and CNS. And then our unified club. So we've always known we've had unified sports, which is growing, but now we have a unified club. So the students are really working together to do great things in the building. And that is great to see. And then right in the middle, we do have student government. This is new for CNS. We are mandated now to have a student government. We have not had one as long as I can remember. So this started this year. Principal's cabinet is now run by the administration. So we did a little switch over, and now student government is being run by Mrs. Pomisano. They actually had the opportunity on October 8th. They went down to the Onondaga County Courthouse and they were sworn in. So these are members of our e-board being sworn into student government. And then our renovations. So we started the year updating our logo, which is really exciting. Phase 1, the gym on the right, the gym is almost done. They're working on the logo on the floor. Phase 2, our auditorium, that is a pretty recent picture, I believe, from last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, but they've Got the drywall has been hung on the back, and there are no chairs in there right now, so it looks pretty amazing. But in an open space, I love the open air concept this summer. I wish we could have kept it that way. It would have been a great space like that. Not with Syracuse weather though. And then phase 3, obviously the pool, the groundbreaking was held October 30th, so we're very excited for that. So lots of celebrations going on at CNS, and we're excited about all of those. There's our BPT members. And then questions.
Go first. What's wrong with the Syracuse weather? Where have you been?
Well, it's been great lately, but we
Yeah.
can't bank on that.
Get used to it. This is not really a question. It's a comment on the English ELA Regents exam slide, which if you
Want
want
me
to
to
go to,
click
you
that?
don't have to, I guess. I just want to say it's really very good data. I know it. The trend you're seeing in the 3 years you're looking there to me is not significant. What I want to say, and I've said it before, and this is, this speak to, the nice job you do there, but we beat ourselves up across the lower levels as they come here with BPT presentations with their ELA scores. Yet we always see this when we get to the high school scores. So I'm just making a statement, my opinion, that there's something out of alignment there, not taking anything away from your ELA staff or your wonderful director of ELA. But I just wanted to make that statement because I think we're doing a great job across the board. Of course, we're growing and we've, changed the series we're using. But at the end of the day, this is the credit bearing exam that counts, and we do very well on it. And we have done very well on it. I'm done.
I just have a couple comments. One, thank you so much for everything you guys do. I mean, in charge of the high school, and it's such a transitionary period with Micron and renovations and having to schedule the governor coming to your building and doing all these things. And every time I talk to you, it seems like your head's on fire, but like you have it under control. That's just amazing. So thank you for that. On another note, I just want to publicly thank you guys. Reason I went into history major, reason I went into teaching, reason I went into coaching, all three here, all three superstars, and I wouldn't be where I am without these three people right here. So thank you so much for everything you've done for
Thank
me
you,
and the
Xavier.
community.
I like to say something about the English scores because I've said this every year since I've been on the board. Years ago, and Dan Bowles knew this every time, we allowed, and I think we need to go back to this, we gave the English Regents to every student, I believe it's 11th grade in January. And then we were able to help the students that were in the ones, and we never had this. APPR came about and teachers were tied to test scores. That is changing, thank goodness. I'd like to see us go back. Again, this is something that the state needs to do and allow Mr. Sherry and his department to give the regions to every 11th grader in January. So then the kids that pass, if they want to get a higher grade, they can take it in June, but we can help those kids that don't pass. It needs to come back. And I've said it for the last 5, 6 years since we took it away. The high school is #1. CNS, sorry, Liverpool, sorry, ESM, sorry, other schools. Our high school is amazing. Yes, I'm up there once in a while because I do some projects up there. I had to deliver some things today, and I did talk to the BOCES kids. How did you know that? But anyway, it's a great school. The staff is amazing. All the kids are engaged, and we have a high school with music. They can go into music, they can go into theater, they can go into sports. Other school districts don't have that. That's why kids go to school, not necessarily for science all the time or social studies, but they find something at our school. And the clubs are amazing. They're growing and growing and growing. Nice job, beautiful job at the high school. Thank you.
One quick comment, just to piggyback off of what Bob said about the ELA in January. I'm just curious, and I don't expect you to know this off the top of your head, but I found when I used to be in the high school that our local exams, like the English 9 and the English 10. It was interesting to me that the kids did better on the regions, like in 11th grade, than they did on our local exams. So maybe looking if they're not able to get their information in January because of the APPR and transition like it is, looking at those 9th and 10th grade scores and trying to catch kids. Anyways, great job with the presentation. Thank you.
I'm going to say one more thing. Did I say that? I was done talking about ELA. I never talked about science, and I just wanted to comment Greg, but he's not listening. I'll look at him. No, I just was, the science, the explanation you gave on the next generation standards. I appreciate that. It was, as a former science teacher who was exiting when those came out, I think it's an exciting direction for science to go when we're looking at the big picture and the big question as to the why, instead of all the knowledge-based Jeopardy type stuff that did for many, many years. No, he said it all. He said it all. He articulated it wonderfully. And I just wanted to comment on that.
Well, actually, there is one extra.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you said you wanted the mic back.
Sorry. I just wanted to say is, for those of us that have come through and we made it through the COVID years and we were just trying to get these kids back. It's the work that the middle schools, the junior high, the high school with all these clubs. I just wanted to let the board know. So today was the beginning of winter sports. For those of you that don't know, I'm the varsity head coach for indoor track. We had 170 athletes sign up for indoor track. So we started today with the largest indoor track team that I've ever coached in my life. And I've been coaching for 25 years. And so that is just a testament to what we do, both as a district, as a board, as a building with our kids, to get them now, get them out, get them a home, get them a place to belong. And that's one of the reasons why we're rising up.
For reference, what's the usual for indoor?
120. So we're definitely over 50. Our outdoor team usually is about 180, to give you an idea, and we are always down in indoor. So we're the size of an outdoor track team, which still requires 4 to 5 buses to go to track meets. So yes, that's where we were today. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no comments from the audience this evening, so we'll move into Board of Education Committee reports. Mr. Thorne?
Thank you, Mike. We had a policy committee meeting this past Tuesday, and we finished up reviewing the last of the Area 1 BOCES manual changes. That's sent out to Area 1 BOCES for final approval and that back, and then we're ready to approve. So,
thank you.
Yes, the legislative committee met on November 6th, and we had a presentation by Alexis Williams on Micron and what it's doing in our classrooms, which was amazing. And also Jason Clark updated the committee on Micron and the kinds of courses that we were having. We also had our Board of Regents, Patrick Mannion, come and introduce himself to the committee and the kinds of topics that they'll be discussing in Albany that pertain to us. Our next meeting is December 4th. And on the agenda, one of the hot topics, as Xavier knows, is especially downstate on, what's the word, Michael? Regionalization. I always say something, regionalization. And so Matt Cook is going to give a presentation at our next meeting on regionalization. And then in January, Mr. Irwin will come and update the legislative committee on our facilities and where we're going with that. That's where we're at.
Thank you. Mr. Shito?
Yes, so last week, we had a meeting at BOCES on the STEAM school that's going in the old Central Tech. And it's a regional STEAM school. one of the first across the state and even within the country. And they talked about, in the first year, they're only going to have ninth graders, obviously, and they're going to work, grade levels going up. But they met with school counselors and administrators. So Naomi was there, Chris and I were there. And then our school counselors, eighth grade counselors, to talk to students who want to apply. What they're doing is talking to them, giving them information. And we're actually going to bring in the executive director, Jody Manning, and the principal, Dan Straub, and do an information night for parents and students. So anyone who's interested can attend. I think that's going to be December 3rd. But it's going to be a great opportunity. It's another opportunity for students to go into a different career path. It's all about going into careers, but not necessarily going to college. They can actually go right into a career out of high school. And there's many different companies and organizations involved in the STEAM school. So I think it's really exciting times for our area and great opportunities for the students coming up through. Next thing, our football team lost a tough game, a heartbreaker in the finals of the Section 3 championship. They played CBA. They played extremely well. They actually gave CBA their toughest game of the year, and they have much to be proud of. They had an outstanding year, making it to the sectional finals again. Modified sports games started this week. Practices started a few weeks ago. They start contests this week. As you heard, winter JV varsity sports started this week. They start today, actually. So that's exciting. Azariah, I'm not going to steal your steam. You're going to talk about a couple things. I know that I try to be careful thinking what you're going to talk about. But so this Wednesday at 7 a.m., there's going to be a business department honor society induction ceremony. So I'll be attending that. I think Chris is going to attend that, and that should be really nice. They're holding that first thing in the morning. Fall play, you heard about. That's going to be exciting. That is Friday and Saturday. There's 3 performances. So we're looking forward to that. And then Thanksgiving week is next week. So there's school only on Monday and Tuesday, and then we're out of session Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And our next Board of Education meeting is on Monday, December 2nd.
Thank you, Mike. Any board comments? Josh?
This is just a question. The STEAM school, the applications and stuff you're talking about, that would start for current 8th graders to be looking to go next year, in next school year as a 9th grader at the STEAM school?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted.
Yes.
Anyone else?
This could have been in legislative, but budget time on December 2nd, maybe it's the 3rd. I signed up for it, Paul. It's a webinar dealing with the budget. So any board member, it's free. You don't have, our school district does not have to pay for it. It's during lunchtime. Don, I'll give you the information. It's 12 to 1:30, but considering foundation aid, it might be something some of us would like to go on and see about. Yes, I'll have Jill send it tomorrow.
Anyone else? Oh, yeah.
All right, so I was gonna obviously give a shout out to the CNS Fall Play, and I was not aware they were gonna come, and it was like obviously really cool to see everyone like in character in their costumes. And all I was gonna say is if you can go, like I know we got free tickets, but if you can show up, you definitely should, because I know many people who do theater and they really thrive off having like a big crowd and a big audience and kind of like interacting with the crowd. So if you can definitely go and show support, that's definitely great. The next thing I was gonna talk about is our Optimist Club. Applications are open for the Optimist essay for this year. And the topic is for this year is how how optimism has paved my road to success. And these are due in January. And I know if you're the first place winner, you get a $2,500 scholarship to any university. And I know second place and third place, they get money rewards and recognition. And the next thing I was going to say is I wanted to thank the junior high school's Builders Club and the National Honor Society for just the positive strides they've been making towards hurricane relief. I know they were able to collect thousands of items from the junior high school, the senior high school, our early education program, Gillette and Roxborough, that are all going to be shipped towards hurricane relief, which is honestly great. And lastly, I want to talk about just like as a president of human rights, to thank all my board members and everyone who just the turnout we've had with the school supply drive. And just in, I think it was a week and a half, we got almost like 10 boxes full of school supplies. And that was just from me, just like being persistent and just making sure that everyone understood just the importance. And now we're gonna, as we conclude like this school supply drive, we're moving into our next project, which is gonna be, so last year, we adopted 2 families, one from Sierra Leone, one from the Congo. And this year, we're also going to be interacting and kind of financially supporting and helping 2 more families just navigate Central New York. And yeah, I'm going to be sending you guys an email about that as well. So just be on the lookout by next week. And I'm very excited just to do that. And I think it is very important work. And I'm glad that I have the board support. So thank you to everyone. That's all I had to say.
Thank you very much. Moving into routine action items. Item A, consideration of approval of the minutes from November 4th. Do I have a motion to put that on the table? Josh, seconded by Mark. Any questions? All those in favor? That is unanimous. I'd like to group B, C, and D together, the consideration of classification and placement of students. Do I have a motion to place those 3 before us? Beth, second from Amanda. Any questions? Favor? That is unanimous. And declaration of marketable and non-marketable surplus. Do I have a motion to place that before us? Beth, Xavier, any questions, comments? All those in favor? Discussion action items. We have the acknowledgement for the 24-25 textbook list. Do I have a motion to place that on the table? Josh, second from Matt. Questions or
yeah,
comments?
Question, just, that was a huge list. Is that, I'm assuming, I don't know if I should look at you, Chris, for that, or is that every book, like when you got into the secondary, every book that they could possibly use throughout, but may not be using all of them, obviously. And in the library, we have more books, but they're not, right? Okay. Well, there were some books that were on reading lists when I was in high school, but they're still relevant and very good books. So the library resources are above and beyond what I saw there. I do have one, and I don't mean to sound like a wonk or a dweeb or whatever, but I was looking at the science because I was curious. Just had a question, you can get back to me or somebody can. The secondary science, they listed the elementary science publisher, and they listed the secondary sciences, biology, chemistry, earth science, and physics. Under physics, they mentioned the publisher's name. I just was curious who the publisher was for the biology, earth science, and the other one, chemistry. I couldn't figure it out from there. I just was curious if they're using a new books because of the next generation standard and who was putting those out. Sorry, it's a personal curiosity, but thank you. It was fascinating to scroll through that. I had time, sorry.
Any other comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have a motion to create a 1.0 FTE school bus attendant. Do I have a motion to place that position before us? Amanda, second from Josh. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Next, we have a MOA between the district and the North Syracuse Principals Association. Do I have a motion to approve? Beth, any questions? All those in favor? That is unanimous. I have an MOA between an employee and the North Syracuse Education Association. Do I have a motion to place that before us? Xavier, second from Beth. Any questions? All those in favor? Thank you. And a resolution to provide for tax exemption for persons with disabilities and limited incomes pursuant to real property tax law 459C. This is going to be a roll call. Do I have a motion to place this before us? Josh, second. From Mark, any questions or comments? Josh?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate Mr. Shito and or Don. I don't know who brought it to our attention, but whoever did bring it to attention, thank you. And I'm really glad that we're doing this.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Great, thank you. We have one gift this evening. Christopher Garrell donated a Rogers R380 four-piece drum set with a value of $500 to the district. Have a motion to accept with gratitude the gift. Mark, second from Paul. Any questions? All those in favor? Appointment of school physicians and establishment of fees. This is the provider. The recommended action is to appoint Rachel Swart effective 11/12 to the list of individuals to serve as school physicians. Do I have a motion for that? Josh, second from Beth. Any questions? All those in favor? That's unanimous. And we have a few retirements to acknowledge this evening before we get to personnel. John Ravito is an English teacher who is retiring with 29 years of service. Robert Lax, an elementary teacher, is retiring with 32 years of service. Catherine Schell, an elementary teacher, is retiring with 37 years of service. And Kathy Jennings Collier, a special education teacher, is retiring with 30 years of service. So we want to wish all of them a long, happy, and healthy retirement and thank them for their many, many years of dedicated service to the school district. It is always interesting and shocks me to see how much dedication we have and the longevity that we have with the people who stay dedicated to our school district. Do we need a executive session before we take personnel A and B? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve personnel A as submitted? Xavier? Questions? All those in favor? That is unanimous. And do I have a motion to put support staff B before us? Mark? Questions? All those in favor? That is unanimous. At this time, I'll make a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of reviewing one negotiation matter with no action to follow and two personnel matters with no action to follow. Do I have a second? Beth? All those in favor? That is unanimous. And do we have a motion to adjourn? Crabtree, second from Josh. All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.